Ahead on the MTN 430 News, jail crisis.
This is a complex issue, and we're asking the public for a lot of money.
Yellowstone County's jail struggles to keep up. With expansion plans stalled, it's leaving taxpayers with big questions. Plus, campus controversy. Two MSU Billings professors face sudden termination over a prison education program. We dive into the details. And Lander picks a winner.
This is such a great way to incorporate, such a Montana tradition into Zoo Montana.
Zoo Montana's resident porcupine predicts the winner for Saturday's big Brawl of the Wild. The MTN News starts right now. Well, good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger. Yellowstone County's jail is bursting at the seams, holding roughly 1/3 more inmates than it was built for. County leaders have spent the past couple of years pushing a major expansion that would more than double the jail's capacity. But with a price tag in the hundreds of millions of dollars and no firm timeline, big questions remain. Our Matt Carmack looks into what this could mean for taxpayers and what comes next.
Yellowstone County is facing big numbers, both growing inmates and the cost of housing them.
This is a complex issue, and we're asking the public for a lot of money.
Yellowstone County officials say the detention center is way over capacity. It's why they're working to expand the jail to an additional 512 beds. In a Yellowstone County Commissioner open hearing on Thursday, that was the highlighted topic.
We got to go to the voters, and we got to figure out
The estimated cost of the entire project is $242 million plus interest, $227 million for the building, and $15 million for operational cost like staff wages.
The biggest thing too is maintenance. If I have to repair a cell and I have to move two inmates that are in that cell, where do I put them?
As a short-term solution, the sheriff's office recently opened a 72-hour holding facility on the west end of the jail, intended for minor crimes. But it's still not enough. Next week, county commissioners will hold a vote asking taxpayers should they move forward with the expensive expansion.
That's the downside. If you say no, we cannot lock people up who deserve to be detained pending trial because they're a danger to society.
But some Yellowstone County residents feel differently, like Mason Roberts, who would like his tax dollars to go towards public accessibility and infrastructure.
No, the jail should be just for, violent offenders and, people who did not some, Joe Schmo who just shoplifter, hey, they can just pay a fine or something like that.
Or Jay Smalk, who is still on the fence about the issue.
I would love to see an expansion for violent crimes or high-profile crimes.
That vote to progress forward will be held here Tuesday morning, and depending on the public's decision, it could be years before we see an expanded jail. In Billings, Matt Carmack, MTN News.
Two longtime MSU Billings professors say they are being pushed out for raising concerns about a prison education program. That's according to our partners at the Daily Montanan. Documents show Jennifer Scroggins and Joshua Hill were placed on immediate leave and now face termination after emailing former inmate students over the summer, something prison officials called a policy violation. Both professors argue the emails are being used to silence them for questioning the program. MSUB isn't commenting. The DOC declined an interview. Students say the sudden removal has left them scrambling to replace required courses. Red Lodge Mountain is delaying its opening day, now set for Friday, December 5th. Warm temperatures and a lack of natural snow are to blame, and resort leaders say they're facing unusually mild conditions. They say they're pushing back the start of the season will help ensure a quality experience for guests and staff. The mountain is reaching out to anyone who is already booked and says or asks skiers and riders for patience as crews work to get the slopes ready. Red Lodge says it's still aiming for a great season ahead and will share updates as conditions change.
And good Thursday afternoon, everyone. We've had a lot of sunshine around most of Montana and Wyoming today. Started the day with some areas of low clouds and fog, and where we didn't have the fog, it was downright chilly. It really felt like November during the morning hours, but started to clear things out and started to warm things up as well. Still some lingering low clouds and fog, mostly west of the divide right now, but overall, quiet weather pattern for this time of year, and it's going to stay that way overnight tonight with a ridge of high pressure still in control. A chance for some more localized low clouds and fog for southeastern Montana and northeastern Wyoming, but I'm also keeping my eyes on some other changes too. Besides the chance for that low clouds and fog, more sunshine on Friday, but changes are coming. Your 7-day forecast coming up.
Some big developments in the push to unseal the Epstein files. President Trump has now signed the new law demanding their release, starting the countdown clock on when those long secret documents could finally become public. So what's actually in the law, and what is the Attorney General hinting about whether those files will ever see the light of day? Joe St. George breaks it down.
President Donald Trump has signed into law bipartisan legislation forcing the release of files related to Jeffrey Epstein. Now the question is, how quickly will these files be released, and will the Department of Justice take any steps to prevent full disclosure? President Donald Trump announcing that he has signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act into law, starting the 30-day clock for the government to now provide more disclosures to comply with the law. On Truth Social, the president writing, quote, "I have just signed the bill to release the Epstein files. As everyone knows, I asked Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune to pass this bill in the House and Senate respectively. Because of this request, the votes were almost unanimous in favor of passage. The president, however, was not always as enthusiastic about passing this. Critics say that the president could have authorized the release of these files on his own without Congress. Now all focus shifts to the Department of Justice, where attorneys under the new law do have the ability to withhold certain documents if it would jeopardize ongoing investigations. Attorney General Pam Bondi was asked about her plans on Wednesday.
We have released over 33,000 Epstein documents to the Hill, and we'll continue to follow the law and to have maximum transparency. Also, we will always encourage all victims to come forward. There's new information, additional information, and again, we will continue to follow the law, to investigate any leads.
On Capitol Hill, there's not a lot of optimism that all files will be released, especially by Democrats. Connecticut's Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal.
I have no trust, no confidence whatsoever, John, that this Justice Department will be even-handed or fair in the disclosure of these files.
Survivors and victims of Jeffrey Epstein released a statement saying that this is a momentous moment, the signing of this law, but recognize that the fight is far from over. They're expected to play a central role in putting pressure on the Trump administration to release the files. Joe St. George, Scripps News Group, Washington.
A final farewell today for former Vice President Dick Cheney, honored in Washington as a leader whose loyalty his family says was to country over party. At the National Cathedral, presidents and top officials gathered for the invitation-only service. Liz Cheney remembered her father as someone who believed America must come before politics. Former President George W. Bush called him a gentleman and a true man of the West. President Biden and Vice President Harris attended. President Trump was not invited. Cheney's casket was carried out to Battle Hymn of the Republic. A recent study from YouGov reveals just how much Americans are cutting back on dining out. Nearly 40% of diners say they're eating out less frequently than they did a year ago, with prices having risen noticeably. Holly Furfer looks at how this slowdown could impact the broader economy, since consumer spending accounts for 2/3 of U.S. economic activity.
Restaurants are tough, even in the best of times.
For restaurant owner Derek Kitchen, this year has been far from the best of times.
The inflation itself really took a lot out of us, and then the tariffs kind of brought us to our knees, to be honest with you.
Higher costs for business owners is meeting with less foot traffic. 37% of Americans are dining out less, according to a recent study from YouGov. And higher costs on menus are changing how consumers spend.
It's really tough because prices have just been rising and a lot of consumers don't feel as though their salaries have kept up to the same pace as that.
This study shows people are sharing meals and ordering fewer alcoholic drinks to cut costs. The pressure is forcing closures across the country.
Cost of goods has gone up 35%, and payroll has gone up like 39%.
Another pressure hitting restaurants hard, immigration policies.
We had been hearing from obviously workers, but also employers, that the immigration enforcement that's going on right now is devastating to the industry.
More than 137,000 foreign-born restaurant workers have left the industry since March, according to an estimate from One Fair Wage.
I think you could see upwards of, anywhere between 300,000 and 500,000 workers lost.
Okay, I have a taco and a tostada. Right after the election, we saw a decrease in in-store traffic. Right away, the customer base dropped.
Arizona restaurant owner Adriana Zapata is seeing the impacts on customers and employees.
Now the second drop, the drop in applications coming in.
As the holiday season approaches, restaurants are counting on customers filling their dining rooms. Holly Furfer, Scripps News Group, Atlanta.
Well, more and more schools are cracking down on smartphones, limiting them in class or banning them entirely. But one of the world's most digital nations is taking it further, planning a countrywide ban on phones in every public school starting next year. Tina Kraus reports.
To try and translate from Danish into English.
Each day, these students in Denmark have one assignment they cannot ignore, handing in their smartphones.
We saw a lot of students losing focus. We saw them lose concentration. They were mentally not really present in school.
Teachers say the distraction was so widespread, students' grades were dropping, prompting the Danish government to push for a nationwide ban on smartphones in all public schools, not just in class, but during breaks too.
And at first, people were kind of like, oh, so annoying, you have to give your phone.
Lawmakers say the old school move slows the pace so students and teachers can keep up.
It's just a way to go a little bit backwards because we have been implementing too fast.
And advocates call the ban a win for students and educators.
Make it easier for the teacher to do what they're supposed to do, to teach, and also give children the freedom to connect offline.
Teens who used to spend recess glued to their phones say now they're really connecting.
Now we talk and sometimes also play board games and stuff.
Yeah. And in the classroom, learning is getting back on track.
I'm more focused because now we don't have something that keeps annoying us every now and then because somebody texts us.
After a phone-free day and students pick up their devices, teachers say they hope the lesson in real connection will stick. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.